When Southern Baptists gather, there's always a song in the air. And this year, James Cheesman will lead us in musical worship at the annual meeting. We hear from him this week on The Road to New Orleans, presented by New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. All right, welcome again to this week's episode of The Road to New Orleans, presented by New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. And this week, we've got James Cheesman from First Baptist Church, Farmersville, joining us. James is the worship leader for this year's annual meeting. James, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for inviting me and having me.
So I know a lot of people, maybe you're kind of new to a lot of people. They may know Bart's social media. He's talked to, Bart Barber, the president of the SBC, who's your pastor. Has talked about you on social media from time to time. I know people have probably seen that, but they may be unfamiliar. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey to First Baptist Farmersville, and just how the Lord has brought you to this moment.
Sure. So I am from Texas, grew up in Texas. My dad is actually a minister of music and has been for 30 plus years. And so I grew up in a ministry home, and I was born in West Texas, and then kind of my formative years were spent in a small town named Cuero, Texas, which is south of San Antonio. And my dad is still the worship pastor at First Baptist Church in Cuero, Texas. So, through the godly example of my parents is how I came to faith. The Lord used them and used my church family there. And I felt called to ministry when I was about 16. And I was able to go to Baylor University to study church music and got to start working at a small church there nearby Waco, Texas. It was in Marlin, Texas, First Baptist Marlin, Texas, while I was at Baylor. And then after I graduated from Baylor, I went to Southwestern Seminary and pursued my Master's of Church Music in music ministry there in Fort Worth. And I also served at Grace Baptist Church there in Fort Worth while I was in seminary. And that's also where I met my wife. My wife is actually from Canada, fun fact.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so Canada, Pugwash, Nova Scotia is her hometown.
Wow, Nova Scotia, wow.
And
okay, the Maritimes, nice.
Yeah, Maritimes, that's right. You know your Canadian provincial breakdown, Jonathan.
Yeah, there we go.
and I'm from Cuero, Texas, and we met in Fort Worth.
Wow,
and
what was she doing in Fort Worth?
She was working on, yes, she worked.
Okay.
She did her Master's of Church Music and Piano Pedagogy.
Wow, that's a big word. So she's the pianist in the family. I see you behind you. You got everything with the string on it back there. You got guitar, you got banjo, you got a mandolin back there, all kind of stuff. How many instruments do you play?
I count play as if I have performed in public on the instrument. Right?
Okay.
So that's my criteria. So I don't count like kazoo. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So with that criteria in mind, I play 12 instruments.
Wow. All right. So we got to know what they are then. So we got banjo, mandolin, and guitar. I guess bass guitar would be in there too. Is that a fourth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Piano was actually my primary instrument in college. Right. Piano, organ, French horn.
Oh.
Trumpet, drums, accordion.
Wow. Well, if you can play the piano, you can play the accordion. Because it's a kind of similar thing.
It's a weird guy.
Yeah.
It's weird to work on. That's only 10. So I'm thinking maybe I left out.
Well, if you play the trumpet, that means you can play tuba, baritone, euphonium. I mean, like if you play one, you basically can play anything with the keys
I've
there.
only performed on
I get
horn, trumpet, and flugelhorn.
Flugelhorn. Okay, so that's 11.
Yeah.
Flugelhorn's an 11. So.
Yeah. Maybe I made up 12. Maybe it's only 11.
I don't know. All right. Well, you have to think about that. And hey, are we going to get any accordion at the annual meeting?
Of all the things I planned, I didn't plan accordion. I could.
Okay.
Maybe it's time. Maybe I'm going to figure out how to do it now. Now that
we're going to Weird Al cover. A Weird Al Yankovic cover. I'm kidding. So that's cool. That's really neat, man. That's awesome. So plays 12 instruments. Met his wife. She's from Canada. I want to know more about that later because I'm a big fan of that. So that's really cool. So you're thinking through the annual meeting. We're talking about that. You're not bringing the accordion So, what are you planning for this year's annual meeting?
Well, first off, I was able to, this was just a total God thing of the team that was put together. Because thinking through coming to New Orleans and leading worship, I wanted to have a strong team that represented even more than just First Baptist Farmersville, especially with being in a city like New Orleans. There's such a great music history from New Orleans. And, uh, and so what I'm thinking through was God brought an awesome team together that's more than just First Baptist Farmersville. A lot of friends in a band, an orchestra, choir that we're all coming together, and so it's going to be a variety. It's going to be very diverse. There's going to be a lot of different things in the music this year.
Okay. All right. So, as you think through that, planning through that, I mean, you're working with people from there, like you said. You've got a choir. I think you're trying to get together and everything. So we're going to have, a robust music, presence, I guess you could say, in New Orleans. Which, of course, with that city, you need to have, right? But how do you think through the difference in leading, 15,000 people in worship for a couple days versus the, leading 300-400, whatever you guys have? I know somewhere around that number in Farmersville each week.
Sure, it's a pretty cool challenge, and to me, I kind of made some guiding principles for the meeting. And number one was to celebrate diverse unity in the SBC,
Okay.
in the song selection and the music team, which I talked about a little bit. And then also the second thing was to sing really well-known songs while still having variety.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, some of the ways we're doing that is we're going to be singing like Amazing Grace, but it's going to be it's a new arrangement that my friend Rick Draper from South Louisiana is arranging in a gospel style. We're going to sing Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing and Because He Lives and Before the Throne of God Above, and all those are going to be in a bluegrass set. So it's songs that people know, but it's going to be bluegrass. We're going to sing Jesus Saves, the hymn Jesus Saves. We have heard the joyful sound, but it's a jazz, blues, gospel setting of it. So we're trying to sing well-known stuff that people can sing. How great is our God? We're going to sing a chorus of How great is our God. Trying to sing things that people will know, so they walk in the room and they don't feel like, oh, I can't participate. I want everybody to be able to participate. And so I tried to pick well-known songs, but still have variety in the musical style.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing from you right there, I think that word participate is the key there. You're wanting this to be participative worship, not performative worship, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. There's going to be a few elements that are performance in the fact that we're going to have a choir of hopefully 160 people.
Wow.
Of First Baptist Church Farmersville, First Baptist Church Covington, Louisiana, and Franklin Avenue Baptist Church.
Waylon Bailey, pastor up at Covington.
Yes, and the orchestra from First Baptist Covington, and we're going to sing Total Praise, which for a lot of our African American congregations is both a performance piece and a participative piece. But for those that might not know that song, they will certainly be blessed by that performance.
How would they not know that one? That was like, we did that in our church a couple weeks ago, and I was like, it seems like it's kind of like a choir anthem standard for like 30, 40 years almost.
It is a choir anthem standard, but that's what you have to think about with Southern Baptist churches in general, the broad diversity of what a music program looks like.
That's true. Yeah.
Some people have never heard a choir in a church. And that's fine, and we're going to have some music that's more kind of that band-driven style. But yeah, so Total Praise is, it's like top, it's definitely a top choir anthem.
It'd be in the top 10 of choir anthems probably over the last 30, 40 years, I would guess. Yeah. So, all right, well, very cool. All right, last thing, all right, we're talking about this. We're even talking about songs now. How can people prepare maybe their hearts and their minds musically for June for the annual meeting?
So I've compiled a Spotify playlist and a YouTube playlist. And the Spotify playlist has almost all of the songs. There's a couple things that might not be on it because they're just not on Spotify. But it'll be as up-to-date as possible. And then the YouTube playlist will have a few things that are even like this specific arrangement that we're doing, like of Jesus Saves and things like that.
Okay.
And then I'll throw a couple extra nuggets in there too of some of the people that are helping out with the music. For example, Southwestern Acapella is going to be there to help out on Wednesday, and I'll have a recording of them on the YouTube playlist. And Kenny and Claire is a
Oh, yeah,
duo
yeah.
out of Nashville. They're going to be doing the bluegrass set with us. They'll be
Oh,
helping us out.
oh,
And
they're
so
fantastic.
I'll have one of their songs on the playlist too.
That's cool. That's great. So Kenny and Claire, they were here in Nashville for a while, and they travel around, do music and stuff like that. So I know, been involved in a lot of Southern Baptist churches. So that's really cool for you to put them in there with that bluegrass set. That's really neat. So, all right. Well, cool, James. Anything else you want people to know about the music at the annual meeting? How can they pray for you, the worship leaders that'll be joining you on stage?
I just would I would appreciate the prayer so much to get everything together. But our heart, everybody on the music team, and like I said, it's a lot of people coming from Texas, from Louisiana, all over Tennessee, and our prayer is that the worship and the music times would be a time where we can gather around our God. And it's a business meeting, but may even the business be an act of worship to glorify God. And so I would just say dig into the singing. Sometimes that's a good time to take a break, but don't disengage. Like let that be what can bring us together and
Yeah.
unite us and launch us into some of the important business that we have to do. And may it all be for the glory of God.
Set the tone in our hearts and minds as we do
Absolutely.
the business that Southern Baptists have gathered to do. So, James, thanks for joining us today, man. Really appreciate you. Good to get to know you a little bit and get Southern Baptists to be able to know you. And we want to thank you for being on with us today.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us at home today as we travel the road to New Orleans, presented by New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary.